Hello and welcome back to Kerbal Swiss RAM. This is an F-5, but it's a bit modified and also just a bit damaged, and also the Kerbal on board is a bit passed out. You might notice that we have a indicator here to an Dawn electric propulsion system that doesn't exist. At least I'm pretty sure it doesn't exist. It's acting like it does, but yeah. It definitely doesn't exist. It just doesn't know what to do with the indicator when it doesn't exist anymore. And we have no engines anymore. None at all. Not even a Kraken drive. Because, well, somebody pulled... What? How many Gs did I pull? 51.1 Gs, which is just past the tolerance of all parts, but fortunately only several parts broke, not every single part. And also, it is the perfect time of day where the sun is shining in my eye through a tiny gap in my blinds, so that's making this interesting. And also, this is far easier to control than I expected, although, to be fair, the only damage is in one pitch control surface. Well, the only control surface damage. And this does have canards on the front because adding on the experimental engines that this particular craft had... Oh, high explosions. Adding on the experimental engines that this particular aircraft had... mere minutes ago, it shifted the center of mass further back, so I had to shift it forwards. Excuse me, sorry, that was my phone making a noise there. I just silenced it. And oh, we've lost a landing gear too. So actually, this landing is going to get very interesting because we could die. I do have Kerbal Crash System installed though, so they should land all right. And then as soon as we finish landing, I'll go ahead and show you what this looked like before takeoff, as well as a comparison with the original F-5. This is called the I-5 Hyper Tiger, because it's an F-5 Tiger, but hyper. And hyper is exactly how it got exploded. And it has a probe core on board, so I was able to maintain control even with the Kerbal passed out. And... it also had a, what do you call it? There's another thing. Can't remember the term. Okay, we're touching down now. Wow, I can't believe I'm keeping it on the wheels. Holy shit. Wow. Wow, this should not be possible. All right, let's go ahead and engage the brakes, turn off the SAS. There's probably damage on this wing. Oh no, no damage. I have Kerbal Crash System, which should cause damage depending on impact speeds, and also prevent things from just instantly exploding. But it looks like I actually touched down safely enough that had this been completely stock physics, it wouldn't have, nothing would have blown up, because basically Kerbal Crash System replaces that system somewhat, at least partially, and makes it so things would be damaged sooner, but also that damage wouldn't immediately destroy your craft like it does in KSP by default. So yeah, that actually went really well. I'm very surprised by how well that landing went. Oh, we also have an intake that, or no, that's a nose cone that got blown up, which reminds me, I need to turn off the intakes on this design because it doesn't use air. That should be a hint for how the engines worked. Did I forget to mention that this thing is powered by a Kraken drive? Yeah, it is. Let me go ahead and make sure that this intake is closed, and for some reason closing intakes is not symmetrical, even though there's no reason for it to not be. So, back here at the back we have my Kraken-Ion drive packages, which is a small battery, a small battery, a Cal 1000 controller, which has to be manually reprogrammed on the runway, unfortunately, because I think that's the KSP devs' attempt to crack down on this particular exploit. And we have two Ion engines, although we actually have four because there's two of these modules installed. And some of them are pointed in reverse and some of them are pointed normal. Yep, the tracks are completely screwed on the Cal 1000, but that's okay. Can go ahead and fix that right now. It might not actually save our changes here because of the same issue that I ran into before, which I believe is an anti-exploit thing. So anyhow, we go in here to our thrust limiters and we set it to all the way down and all the way down. So now this Ion engine will be producing negative a billion thrust and negative a billion electricity and negative a billion, what do you call it? Xenon. Which, actually, there is no xenon in this design here. Oh wait, no, there is a xenon tank. It's just clipped into the battery. I forgot about that. Yeah, that is another essential part of this, because you have to have at least some xenon on board in order for it to function. I went ahead and left it full, although you could probably empty it or get it very nearly empty, and this would work just the same. You might have noticed the forward engine. I did the exact same thing, except I made it go up in the thrust limiter instead of down. I'm gonna click save now. And this may work, or I may have to manually reprogram that stuff here on the runway. Let's find out. Looks like it still works. So, full throttle is actually at about 50% throttle, and as you can see, full throttle is quite intense. I'm also going to, oh dear, I want to not go too high up. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and cut the engine before we blow up. We've gone up to 25 Gs so far, because, well, as you can see in the thrust limiter here, we're at a thrust limiter of 149,000%, which is, you know, actually wait, no. Is that supposed to be 0 to 100 or 0 to 1? I think it's 0 to 100, but I'm not entirely certain. Either way, it's a lot higher than it should be, which leads to ridiculous stuff like this, which, as long as we're low in the atmosphere, is tolerable, because our thrust is so low, because ion engines are so weak in the atmosphere. But in space, you can't throttle this up past like 3 or 4% without it disintegrating. So I'm gonna go ahead and just pitch all the way up. And of course, this is no longer atmospheric breathing, so we can just do this and it's fine. I'm gonna go ahead and throttle down just a little bit. That should, no, that's maybe still not enough. So as you can see, I have it at a very low thrust, just because else we'd melt and stuff. And you can see we're pulling like a consistent 8 Gs there, slowly increasing as the specific impulse increases as well, although we're pretty close to our maximum now, so, oh dear. So here's the part where having an asymmetry in your design becomes a serious issue. Also, this doesn't have any, where's the button I'm looking for? Toggle torque, there we go. This didn't have any reaction wheels enabled because, you know, it's an aircraft. It shouldn't be going into space. But obviously we're changing that a little bit. There we go. I managed to get the thrust low enough that it can actually hold course. So as you can see, we are draining electric charge, although that doesn't matter because we effectively have infinite electric charge with the design of this, because ion engines are producing it instead of consuming it, although they're also consuming it at an infinite rate as well, which is why the numbers go slightly weird. Oh yes, you can see we do have 80 units of liquid fuel on board. That's for mass balancing purposes, and because this was literally converted from an F-5. And I'm trying to remember, oh yeah, I need to go back into the SPH and save it with the torque enabled, because else, you know, things go badly. Anyhow, I'm gonna go ahead and throttle up, and you can see very quickly the aircraft or spacecraft is not happy with that. And apparently we went all the way to 50 Gs there, which is amazing that I got it to exactly 50 Gs without also, what's the word I'm looking for? Without also having it immediately, come on. Without also having it immediately like fall apart and die, because that's a thing that happens. Also, you can see that we're in the most ridiculous non-orbital shaped thing ever. But I'm slowing us down so we can come back into the atmosphere, because what else you gonna do? Let's go ahead and... yeah, there's no reason in trying to do it that way, because it spins out so fast that you can't actually point down all the way.
2 hours later.
So I'm thinking, since we're all the way up here, and we have a super-powered drive, and I'm pointing retrograde, let's go ahead and get our orbital velocity to 0, and just let it fall from about 401 kilometers up, and see where that leads us. So you can see we're getting very close to canceling out our orbital velocity, and as we get closer and closer, you can see we're going towards the horizon. And I'm going to stop us at there. We had 0 vertical speed, and we had about 15 meters per second of horizontal speed, so not a lot, but a little bit. And you know what? Let's go to aim for normal. Yeah, let's aim for normal. So we'll hit the atmosphere like a pancake and see how that goes. And of course, the planet is rotating beneath us, so it moved in position just a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and turn to stability assist because I have a feeling it's not going to hold this orientation for very long. As you can see, speeds are quite intense. So intense, in fact, that I'm going to pull up as hard as I can to try to survive this, and we still might not do it because of the overheating. And of course, Kerbal is going to lose consciousness, but I should still have control. Why do I not have control anymore? I should still have control even though he's not conscious. Something has gone very wrong. I definitely have the electric charge, but it's like the probe core is gone. Oh, it exploded due to overheating. Well, there you go, and that's how you die. Ouch. And now that I've enabled torque, I'm just going to remove those things. We have the finished version, which I did say I was going to compare to the regular, so let's go ahead and pull that open. So, in order to make this comparison happen, hold on, you know what, I just realized, oh no, I can't do that. Do I not have the cheats enabled? Oh, wait, it was there for a moment. It wanted to connect for a moment, and then it didn't. Or at least I thought it did. Maybe it didn't. Oh well. In any case, you can see I put this right about there. I'll match it based on the cockpit. You can see that the wings have been moved back a little bit, as well as the intake being moved back and down a little bit. There was a fuel tank on here that was removed. Also, the landing gear were unintentionally moved back. They were just on the wings, so when I moved the wings back, it moved them back as well. I didn't think about that. You can see the rear is a little bit shorter. The ion engines at their very furthest come out to just below the vertical stabilizer, whereas in the other version, these engines go a bit further back. You can see also I extended the length of these pitch controls just a little bit. That's unintentional, but it definitely happened. And of course, the canards were added at the front in order to enable it to have that capability. So let's see how it compares to the regular F-5, which I don't remember. Okay, I did not thrust limit these engines. I just left them at the stock levels, which should give us a thrust-to-weight ratio below 1, but I'm not sure exactly how high it'll peak at. I'm gonna go ahead and let this ride on the runway without pulling up until the thrust-to-weight ratio peaks, or we run out of runway. And we've just peaked at 33.98 kilonewtons of thrust, and now it's going down slightly with a thrust-to-weight ratio of 0.64. Obviously that decreases. Oh, we got a higher thrust-to-weight ratio there. Interesting. Probably because of the amount of fuel we're burning. Although we're not burning very much, it's apparently enough to make a difference that quickly. But as you can see, the performance is of course much, much lower. But then again, what do you expect from an older fighter? Probably exactly this. And if you don't expect this, well then you expect too much. I try to make these things somewhat realistic, but I don't always succeed. But also, I've just noticed that shadows glitch has reappeared, which I'm really annoyed about. I thought I'd fixed it. Well, I mean, I had fixed it on Windows, but since I'm now recording things on Linux, well, it's a fresh install, and apparently the fix that works in Windows does not work in Linux, because I did the exact same fix, but you can see it's glitching not as badly, but it is still glitching. Oh no, I'm not going to pull out of this in time. And this is why Kerbal Crash System is a good thing. Whee! How much damage was done to the cockpits? 0%! Killed all the speed in the other parts as they were crashing and exploding. Nice. Oh yeah, that's a future video right there.